What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another preview video. We've already done one for the Wales versus South Africa game. This one is going to be for Japan and Ireland. It's going to be a really exciting game. What we do in these preview videos is we chuck a game of Rugby 20 on in the background, and then over the top we talk about the official teams announced that are going to be playing this game in real life. We take a look through the team, who we think is going to do well, who we think might do badly, and then finally we give a score prediction for the game. It's going to be a rematch from what we saw in the summer, so let's get this game kicked off and underway. Alrighty guys, Tamora is going to get us kicked off and underway. We'll head off to the left this time. Let's mix it up a little bit from what we did in the last video. I am going to be doing these videos slightly out of order just because the teams are all announcing their teams in really weird fashions. But there we are, guys. So this will be, I believe, the first game of the weekend. This is going to be Ireland versus Japan. This is a game we've got to see now quite a few times. It feels like this is the game we're seeing most consistently in terms of worldwide international calls. We saw this for the first time in that World Cup in Japan, with Japan managing to take that win, probably against a lot of the bookies' odds. A lot of people expected Ireland to take that game, and Japan just came out of the blocks, absolutely firing and went on to beat Scotland as well. And then, of course, we saw this game again in the summer, which I think I gave the more positive towards Ireland in that game, thinking they were going to be able to take that one quite a little bit as well, as Michael Leach goes over for a brilliant try. And Japan, I think, fell a little bit unlucky in that game. They played really well in the summer. I believe they lost by like 8 points, and Ireland led in with a really, really strong team for that game as well. Japan have also been playing the Lions. It's been super exciting for them as we're going. Let's talk about Ireland to start off with. So Ireland had another Six Nations where, going into the Six Nations, I actually thought Ireland could have taken the Six Nations. The team they put out for that Six Nations was enormous. They went on to have a pretty good summer, beating both Japan and I believe they just hammered the USA pretty dominantly. Moving forward towards these this autumn series, I really thought that Ireland were going to have to try and mix up their team a little bit, try and work out how they want to do this one. The team they put out for this game is actually a bit special. I wasn't expecting the team to be this big. Of course, Japan have been coming up in the world in recent years since that World Cup, and Ireland know not to mess about with Japan too much, but they do have New Zealand next week, and I thought maybe Ireland would have to put on a bit of a lighter team, but they haven't gone down that route. So what we'll do is we'll chuck the team on screen for you guys, and we'll have a little look through. So starting off in this front row, Andrew Porter, Ronan Kelleher and Tadhg Furlong. Now that is a solid front row. Of course, Andrew Porter, with that incredible ability to swap between prop positions, can play loose head or tight head, which is a really useful tactic to have, was, I believe, meant to be going off with the Lions originally and had to pull out through injury, unfortunately, for Andrew Porter. Kelleher has been playing fantastic rugby recently, especially going into that Ireland summer tour, was absolutely destroying teams. And Tadhg Furlong, we know how good he can be. He's a big man, he's great in the scrummaging, but also got a nice little step on him. He had a superb Six Nations last year, and I think was probably most people's sort of tight head of the year, really. He's had a really good season last year, and hopefully he can carry that through to this game. Moving further back towards the lock department, again, another couple of big names here. Tadhg Beirne and James Ryan. Tadhg Beirne is probably one of my favourites in terms of world rugby at the minute. Tadhg Beirne's playing incredibly good rugby. I believe he was up for the sort of Man of the Six Nations Award, whatever that was called. I can't remember what that was called now, looking back. But Tadhg Beirne playing really good rugby. Can play 4, 5 or 6 as positions, so utility is absolutely brilliant. James Ryan in here as well. Not going to be taking the captaincy role for this one. That's going to fall to Johnny Sexton later on, but James Ryan at 5 certainly had a very good Six Nations. I've had a bit of hit or miss with James Ryan for giving away too many penalties, but in the last Six Nations really sort of calmed down his game a little bit. Less penalties given away, line out become absolute domination. In fact, we saw across the board really from that island in the Six Nations, line outs were one of the key areas. They were just dominating. So many high-end jumpers when it came to that line out that most teams really struggled, including a review I did for the Ireland versus Scotland game, where we really sort of broke down that Ireland line out and just how good it's gotten. And I'm sure they'll be carrying this through. Japan not necessarily the best in the line out, so Ireland will probably be looking to take over in that department. Looking at the back row, Keelan Doris, Josh van der Fleer in that 7 shirt, and Jack Conan in 8. So of course no CJ Stander anymore. Jack Conan coming in, think he's doing perfectly well, went off for the Lions as well. As a utility 88 also does that. The sort of same thing that you see Falatau do a lot actually. Moves to the wing when he needs to, so he can also, because he's got a good speed on him as well as size, so not just smashing up the line, but also when it's a bit of broken play, doesn't mind mind moving to the wing and helping put a bit of weight on that wing as well. Josh van der Fleer is playing awesome at club rugby at the minute. We've been doing between some of the friends, some of the Super Brew for some of the club level games, and Josh van der Fleer is scoring high every game. And finally, Keelan Doris, who is very good as well. I mean, in all honesty, this 1-8 is solid from Ireland. I really thought they might try and dull down the team a little bit going into this Japan game. They have not messed around at all. They want to dominate this scrum, it looks like. I mean, scrum and line-out time, I think Ireland will be looking to get a 100% win success there, except for maybe some penalties for slipping or what have you, but it's looking very, very good as a 1-8. Looking further back towards the actual backs and the half-back partnership in that Jamison Gibson Park and Johnny Sexton taking over as captain and winning his 100th cap, I believe, for this game actually as well. So, you know, congratulations to him. Jamison Gibson Park, we haven't really seen a lot of, or I haven't seen a lot of him in terms of club level. Conor Murray went off for the Lions, of course, but he won't be starting in this game. Jamison Gibson Park, I think, is really holding that number 2 shirt now. A couple of people really trying to get involved now with this Ireland team. A couple of people are picking Gibson Park ahead. I've seen people in some of the Super Brews and some of the videos we've done previously. They are picking him ahead of him. But Jamison Gibson Park doing well. And Johnny Sexton, of course, the old hand now, knows what he's doing. Decent, successful kick rate towards the post, but also running play very, very good. Looking towards that partnership in the centre then, Gary Ringrose and Bundy Aki. These lads know what they're doing. This is an experienced partnership. They'll be cutting through lines, Bundy Aki through the middle, and Gary Ringrose waiting on that outside just to pick any holes he can find. And then finally a back three, James Lowe, Andrew Conway and Hugo Keenan. Ireland, probably one of the few teams going into this international series that don't really have to mess about. This is pretty much the team we saw in the Six Nations, and it works very well. The utility you have in that back way as well, because Andrew Conway, Hugo Keenan can also play wing or the fullback if you need him to. There's a couple of people there able to take kicks toward posts if you need them to. Realistically, 1-15, this is about as good as an Ireland team can get, minus your own personal preferences of who should start where. This is solid. This is a really, really good team. They haven't messed around with this Japan team at all. They know how competitive Japan can be now. So, well on them for putting on a good team and giving them the respect they probably deserve. As we're doing some replacements in the background now, let's talk about the Ireland replacements. So, Dan Sheenan, Cian Healy and Finlay Beelum. And, of course, Cian Healy now, I don't know how old Cian Healy's got to be. He's got to be putting on a few years now. Dan Sheenan's not someone I know a little bit about, but Finlay Beelum's definitely beginning to move his way into this Ireland team a little bit now. Replacement lock there in Ian Henderson. So, I mean, what will happen there? Maybe we'll see Keelan Doris come off, Tadhg move to 6, and Ian Henderson come on at 4. They could be looking to try and save Tadhg for that New Zealand game. Maybe Ian Henderson will come straight on at the 4 shirt. Peter O'Mahony, hopefully no card situations for him in this game, but he's a very good player again, just leadership. A lot of time now spent in this world of rugby, and we know what he can bring to the team. So looking forward to see Peter O'Mahony back in the team. Conor Murray on that bench. Probably won't be too upset to not be starting. He'll definitely want to be saving any injuries and stuff, but Jamison Gibson Park should be dealing with it fully okay. Joey Carberry, the replacement fly half. Didn't have the best game the last game I saw him in, but of course, everyone's entitled to have a bad game every now and again, but Joey Carberry's a good player. When he gets on there, he'll definitely be able to take over from Sexton. And finally, Keith Earls on that wing. Again, another man that, could come on the wing. Could even come up fullback if you really wanted him to. I would imagine more he will come on for Andrew Conway at some point in that game. But we may also see Keith Earls come on for James Lowe just to save him for that New Zealand game. I believe in terms of the management circles, they tend to prefer Keith Earls and James Lowe over Andrew Conway for the big games. I'm not really sure why. I like Andrew Conway as a player, but I'm pretty sure that's the way they may go. But as a team, brilliant. I'm really looking forward to see this game. Unfortunately, this is going to be going on at the same time as the Italy-New Zealand game, so we're only going to get to see one. But this is a very, very good Ireland side, so I'm going to be looking forward to see what they put out. Which, of course, means we need to talk about their opponents, Japan. Japan coming up in the world, having beaten Ireland in that World Cup, as I mentioned earlier on, losing to them in the summer tour, which was unfortunate. They had quite a good game against the Lions, in all honesty. They came away with a loss there as well, but it's tough coming against the Lions, and they haven't got a lot of games they could have played together along the way. They may have played one or two other games that have been going on for the end-of-year internationals, some of the Southern Hemisphere teams, which I haven't managed to keep track with. That just sort of happens and sort of slips by as a bit in the UK. I can't even find a lot of coverage for that, so that's a bit of a shame. So there might be a couple of extra games here that I may not know about, so feel free to drop down in the comments who to look out for, especially from your point of view for the Japan team. So taking a look at this front row. Inagaki, Sakate and Gu. So again, a couple of these players I'm not going to know an awful lot about, so I apologise for that if they're sort of lower cap players. If they took place in the World Cup, I'll probably be in there a little bit, but probably not so much otherwise. Looking forward towards the lock department here. Cornelison and more. So again, a couple of big names probably missing in here. This is probably not the team we will have seen at the World Cup. They've had a lot of switches going on in the last sort of year or so. Even against the Lions, there were a couple of players switching up here. That forward pack was working relatively well for Japan. Where they tend to really explode is in that sort of loose play and broken play when their backs get to be released. There's definitely a lot of speed in that team. And it's really nice to see when they get going. But the forward pack here, that front five, I'm not sure if I trust it to be able to deal with the sort of ability of the Ireland team. I'd probably say the line-outs and scrummaging is probably going to be very, very good from that Ireland team. So that front five under a lot of pressure from the off. The back row then, Gunter, Jimeno and Labusagni. Labusagni taking over now. No Michael Leach in this team. So there's going to be a couple of new names. Jimeno actually played pretty well when the last time I saw him. I think I saw him playing against the Lions as well. And he's been doing relatively decently, to be fair. I think he can play a couple of positions. I think I've seen him at 6 before as well. I might be wrong about that one. But, you know, they'll be trying to bolster that. There's definitely a bit more experience in this back row than I would probably say against the rest of the starting 8. But I think with Japan, they tend to not rely on that scrum too much. I know the size and weight distribution of Japan has typically been a little bit less than some of the other teams, but they've definitely moved up a little bit in recent years. But they tend to try and get over that ruck, and the discipline they have on the field is normally a lot better than some of the other teams. So as soon as penalties come on horizon, they'll be looking for those 3 points. If they can take anything from a scrum or a ruck, they'll definitely be looking for it. But we'll have to see how they get on. Moving towards the halfback partnership, Nageri and Tamura. So again, a couple of dab hands now in this department. A couple of extra caps in here. Tamura has definitely got a good set of points under him now. Kicking towards the post is pretty decent. So if they give penalties away, Ireland to Japan, they'll certainly be taking the 3. There's no reason not to. Japan are also sort of wise enough to not just believe they're going to be getting the tries if they want them. They will be taking 3. They do play clever. They take the 3s when they come, so it's a good move. And Nageri is very, very quick at getting that ball out of the ruck as well. So hopefully they can have a good game in that halfback partnership. And then finally, let's just talk about the back 5 here. So Faifita at 11, Nakamura at 12, Lafayette at 13. Riley is not someone I know a lot about in that right-hand shirt. And finally, Matsushima, the return of the boy wonder for Japan, coming in the fullback position this week. Of course, can play either fullback or on the wing. Tend to prefer him on the wing, but he's perfectly fine at the fullback position as well. Faifita is, again, a very good winger. Very, very rapid. It's one thing this back team does tend to have for this Japan team now is it's just speed, general speed with ball in hand. They can run pretty quick. Lafayette is always up for a good tackle. Again, a line break will be away, and Matsushima, like we've already said, will be. Oh, the dancing feet you see of Matsushima are always fun to watch. So I think if they can get towards the backs, they can spread this Ireland defence out a little bit. They'll certainly be looking for it. When we did do that review for the Ireland-Scotland game, we definitely saw how well that Ireland defence has stepped up this year. So I think Japan could be struggling to find gaps in that back line of Ireland, but if they can get through, there's certainly a lot of room to work with, and these players will be scoring tries in this game. And finally, as we're coming towards the end of the game in the background now, we'll just quickly talk about the subs. So there's going to be a couple of players here that I'm not going to know a great deal about. Miller, Valu, Tokunaga, Tatufa. No, unfortunately, Matsuda is someone I'll know a little bit about, so we'll be looking forward to seeing him coming on. And Yamanaka has had a few caps now coming in there as well. Unfortunately, there's not a great deal in terms of the forwards. I know a lot about the Japan replacement, so I've got a feeling where you might see this game begin to slip is in that forwards, because to me the front 5 doesn't necessarily look the biggest we've seen from Japan in the past, and some of the replacements not super jumping out to me. That might be my own naivety there. So make sure you drop down in the comments if you think they're going to be able to hold out. But I think for me, Ireland will look to hold the ball in hand. I think especially in that scrum department, they'll be looking to try and win some penalties there. So in terms of a score prediction, what do we think for this game? This game tends to be quite close. However, I think Ireland have definitely put out a stronger team. So for me personally, I'm going to pick an Ireland win here. In terms of the actual points, like I said, they're always close. They always tend to be within sort of about a try score. I think this one might go a little bit further. I think Ireland have got this to probably in their own hands a little bit more now. So I'm going to pick Ireland to win by, I'm going to say 14. I'm going to say this one's going to extend out to 2 tries. I think Japan could struggle when it comes to some of the big forward combatancy you'll be see going on. That island breakdown situation's very good. The line out is brilliant from them. And the scrummaging work, I would imagine Ireland have the heavier pack as well. But of course, guys, I am but one man on the internet talking nonsense about rugby. So make sure you drop down in the comments your thoughts, your feelings. Who do you think is going to win this game? How much do you think they're going to win by? And who are you really looking forward to see getting on in this game? This will, of course, be game 1. And we will, of course, be doing all of the other games as previews on the channel. So make sure you subscribe to the channel just to keep up to date with all the latest videos as they come out. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.